Shalom. So, um, because of all of the 770 craziness, um, I had been paying more attention to um, channels that discuss Chabad. Hey, Tayo. That discuss Chabad than usual, and I came across this channel. Um, Rabbi Chaim Dalfin, where he was very valiantly talking about the things without hemming and hawing, and really seriously discussing what's going on. And um, he has a great channel, link in the description. I highly recommend it. I'm sure I've possibly even met him before, but I'm sure I've seen advertisements of him for bringing or something like that. I don't know how often he gets out to Los Angeles, but Rabbi Dalfin is what we call an alter chassid, a senior chassid, right? And honestly, I mean, when I saw the videos, I was like, this is the perfect guy to come on my channel. So I sent him an email asking him to come. I didn't really expect him to come. I've invited lots of shluchim to come on my channel before. They're usually incredibly busy people. And so I didn't really expect him to say yes, but he said yes. And he has very limited time, so he's going to join us in another 20 minutes or so. And I started looking at his website and his books and who he is and his biography and watching his videos. And honestly, I got so excited. I woke up early this morning and I thought it would be better if I started the live stream a little early and gave the introduction so that when he comes on, he doesn't have to sit through me reading his bio and introducing you to who he is. Because honestly, so the official topic is going to be Yud Shvat. This coming Saturday is the anniversary of the date that in 1950, the sixth Chabad Rebbe passed away. And a year later, the seventh Rebbe, the Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, that everybody calls in Chabad calls the Rebbe, gave a speech and accepted being the next Rebbe, being the seventh Lubavitcher Rebbe. And so we're officially going to talk about that, but I was looking at the books that Rabbi Dalfin has written, and honestly, he talks about like all of the most important things. Like I would love to at least like just page through a lot of these books. I don't know if I would be able to read all of them, but like Tanya on mental health, he was apparently very close. His Mashpia was Rabbi Yoel Kahn, who was, when did Rabbi Kahn die? I think it was a little over a year ago, July 15th, 2021. It's been almost 3 years that Rabbi Kahn passed away. But Rabbi Kahn, after the Rebbe passed away in 1994, in a very real sense, became the senior rabbi in Chabad. And Rabbi Dalfin was, hey, Yosef, and if you want to jump on, I mean, I would love for you to speak with Rabbi Dalfin. I am going to send you a link. But yeah, apparently, like he was close with Rabbi Kahn was his Mashpia, and he actually printed the book Maneh Chacham, which is two very long letters by Rabbi Kahn, which I often refer people to when they're trying to understand how Chabad views the state of Israel and Zionism. He's written Who's Who in Chabad, which, I mean, like, already I want to and the interviews on his channel. Wow, Judaism, moral psychology for a secular world. Like, oh, it's on sale. Okay, this is by somebody else that Rabbi Dalfin printed. Dr. Richard Craden. Wow, this is really interesting. I'm gonna have to, and it's on sale for $20. I am going to have to buy this. Okay, so I guess I know what I'm. Somebody sent me some money to buy books, and a very dear friend who shouldn't have but did, and now I know which book I'm definitely going to buy. I mean, it's on sale. What can I say? But Chabad and YU, and he had some interesting interviews. I only found his channel a few days ago, and he has lots of content. Last night, he did a very brave discussion on with one of the people involved in one of the people who was involved in dealing with the police on behalf of Chabad, and got caught on one of these crazy videos that's been circulating. Chabad and Aguda, like, that's going to be a very interesting one, because the Rebbe Rashab pulled Chabad out of Agudat Yisrael because of Zionism and what was going on. The real Zalman, so Rabbi Dalfin was the shliach to Mount Monterey in Northern California in the 80s, right? Which already, I mean, to be sent by the Rebbe himself to Monterey speaks greatly of him. I mean, in the 80s, you could in many ways say it was the golden age of Chabad, when Chabad was growing incredibly under the Rebbe's leadership. And, you know, this was right after the Rebbe had sent people like Zalman Schachter Shalomi, who he started the Jewish renewal movement, right? Which neo-Chasidism, although he became distanced from Chabad, you know, this, and apparently he also had has a book about Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach, right, who was also somebody who he came from a Chabad background. Okay, I'm gonna have to buy this one too. He came from a Chabad. He came from Lakewood background, not Chabad background. He became Chabad, and then he later was not running things in ways that the Rebbe approved of, and so was encouraged to change his ways, but until he did, was no longer officially affiliated with Chabad. Let's put it that way. So, I mean, he has biographies of various Chassidim and Chabad-Lubavitcher, a contemporary guide, very interesting. And he has practical halacha books, so really interesting stuff. And I was not really aware of, but also, I mean, so Rav Hutner and the Rebbe, various rabbis who are outside of, and let's face it, I mean, there are plenty of Chabad Hasidim who don't even know who Rav Hutner is, unfortunately. Look, the funny thing is, like, people assume that when you grow up in a community, you necessarily know everything about that community and how it functions, right? Well, that's simply not true, right? And I mean, if you just consider the various, if you consider, for example, like people who grow up Protestant and they don't really, I mean, they may have heard of Martin Luther, they may have heard of John Calvin, they probably don't know who Zwingli was or Melanchthon, right? And for comparison, right, just because you grew up in Chabad, right, you may know stories of the Alter Rebbe. Hopefully in your classes they've spoken about the 7 Chabad rabbis, but like not everybody knows who the Rebbe Maharash really was or what he wrote about or anything very specific about him, right? And then when you go out and talk about rabbis of different Hasidic and non-Hasidic, it becomes a whole other thing of Chabad's secret inside the world's most successful Jewish organization. Interesting. I mean, I'm wondering what he. I would love to at least thumb through. I mean, he has 6 volumes of the Rebbe's advice. Yeah, it's really interesting stuff. Yeah, so The Real Shlomo is his book about Shlomo Carlebach, and when to write a book about Satmar and Lubavitch, right, is already it takes guts. It really does, because it's a thorny issue that a lot of people don't want to talk about. There were unfortunately very unfortunate circumstances in that relationship that so like this was part of the, I mean, how I found his channel was in fact that he was willing to talk about the thorny real relationships. And if you listen, for example, to the video he put out yesterday with Rabbi Yoel Kahn, you can see that he's not avoiding the real tough issues. And to some extent, I have to say, my own rabbi it tells me not to get too worked up about controversy and silly things. And okay, so people in 770 are having their crazy whatevers. Why do you need to, how does that affect how you need to live your life, how you need to practically go forward in life? And so it's there is definitely a good reason not to get bogged down in history and controversies. And unfortunately, I mean, one of the ways my rabbi explained what's happening at 770 said that there is there are intergenerational, such a thing happened 100 years ago in some small town in Russia, and suddenly now, and people were had their various things, and then that, in a very real sense, I mean, how relevance realization, which John Vervaeke talks about a lot, is okay. There's an infinite number of facts, and there's all the various causes. So how are you going to get involved in it? But actually knowing the history and understanding how something developed, it's a difficult thing. But I mean, one of the interviews he had was with one of the students who had been at YU many years ago, and apparently the Rebbe had sent Rabbi Shem Tov, I think he said, to teach a Tanya class at YU because some of the students were interested, and when somebody found out about it, they shut it down, right? And he has several books about the Rebbe and the Rav, Rabbi Soloveitchik, who's very popular in this little corner. Obviously, the Rav was, I mean, great rabbi. But Lakewood and Lubavitch, Chabad and Mir, Lubavitcher and Borough Park, probably discussing the differences. I mean, I saw one video where somebody was talking about when people talk about Chassidim, they really shouldn't talk about Chabad because Chabad is different from all the other Chassidim. And in a certain sense, Chabad is very different from, certainly the Polish and the Hungarian Chassidim that everybody is used to, right? Well, everybody is used to, but that we generally refer to as Chassidim. Muhanu Mezuman, glad to hear it. Frankly, Chazi, if you can jump on, it would be very nice. I would like to see. By Lakewood, you don't mean Joel Osteen. No, Tayo, we do not mean Lakewood. Lakewood is a yeshiva in New Jersey, which is a center of the what is politely referred to as Lithuanian, what could be described as the opponents of Chasidism. Right. Chabad and Boyan and Klausenberg and Skver and Stolin, which are four important, not the largest, but two important. I believe all of these are Polish Chasidis. Boyan, I really don't know. Boyan, Klausenberg, Skver, and Stolin. But Chabad and Telch. So Telch is Yakisha, I believe. Chabad and Belz, Babov, Ger, Vizhnitz. I believe all of these are Polish Hasidus. I'm not sure. Chabad and Panovich. I mean, talk about being willing to talk about the relationship between Chabad and Panovich. Probably is the most controversial inside Orthodox Judaism relationship. How do we put it? Is it more controversial than Chabad and Satmar? Chabad and Satmar was within the Hasidic movement. Chabad and Panovich was within the ultra-Orthodox movement. And frankly, the relationship, now you're getting into Israeli politics. And Maneh Chacham, right, which I didn't realize that it was printed by Rabbi Dalfin, right? And it's only $10. Okay, I gotta buy this one too. This is getting expensive. The more Rabbi Dalfin, we're waiting for him any minute to show up. Hopefully everything is fine. But hopefully it was clear to him. I hope we didn't actually, we said Tuesday. I hope it was clear that I meant Tuesday today. Just book shopping. Yeah. Honestly, Maneh Chacham I've gone through several times. So, yeah. I don't know if Rabbi Dalfin is just running a tiny bit late or let me just shoot him off. Hoping it was clear that I meant today. If not, I guess Chazi can have his normal shir. But yeah, and I'll have a chance to actually prepare better for this. But Demystifying the Mimer. Conversations with the Rebbe, an Ohel guide. That's the Ohel is where the Rebbe and his predecessor are buried in New York. Chabad portraits. Attack on Lubavitch, a response. I don't even know which attack in Lubavitch he's talking about. In a 2002 series. Okay. Hello, Rabbi Dalfin. Shalom Aleichem. I was just giving a little introduction. I found your YouTube channel and I sent you the email. And then after you said you would come, I started looking at your site, and wow, you've written so many books on such interesting topics. I was just shopping. I spent way too much money. buying your books. But we said we were going to talk about Yud Shvat. I gave a little introduction before you came on, but you spent a lot of time with the Rebbe. You were a shliach back in the 80s in Northern California, which must have been a very exciting time. I saw you had books on Zalman Schachter Shalomi and Shlomo Karlebach and so many different things. So first of all, I mean, your link and everything is in the description, but please, Rabbi, tell us about your experiences, Yud Shvat, whatever you want to talk about. I would love to hear.
Okay, thank you, Yaakov, for inviting me on your wonderful program. Basically, the Rebbe appointed my wife and I in 1984 as his shluchim to do, at the time, work in Marin County, California. It's across the Golden Gate Bridge near San Francisco. We were there from 1984 to 1992. I've written 2 books about the experiences there. One called Chabad House, which I documented the legalities of building a Chabad house, a shul in a residential area. It made news, the San Francisco Examiner. It went to the appellate court of the on the state level, and it's a discussion for itself. And Baruch Hashem, I could say that we won the case, and because of that, there's Chabad of Marin County today.
Yeah, I actually did read some of those cases many years ago, because so I'm involved with the Chabad House here in Los Angeles at USC, and when they were trying to do the construction and stuff, there was all kinds of. So Chabad has had a very interesting relationship with the courts, that's for sure, including going all the way to the Supreme Court with the Chanukiah and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, going back to information you wanted to know a little bit about. So we did that, and Chabad House stands proud today with other satellites in Marin County. So my wife and I are the ones who founded it, developed it, put it on solid ground, and the results are there today. The mikveh there is in the name of my my aunt, Alea Shalom. She was a survivor. She had no children. And my father was given funds from her estate, and he gave them to me to build a mikveh. The mikveh's there, and it's available both on men's side and a women's side. I had that done. So there's a lot of information. I also wrote a book called The Invisible Hand, which is interesting. Hashgacha Pratis, divine providence stories, i.e., the invisible hand of God. It's my experiences in Marin, and then in Brooklyn, where I am today, and other places where I've traveled and done work. So that's, the program's not about Marin County, so we're not going to talk about that. Yeah. But that's part of what you're alluding to. In 1992, we were hired to work for Rabbi Yoel Kahn directly in Los Angeles from 92 to 96. And in 1994, I don't know if you know, but I started probably the only one in the country, a hidden Chabad house called Cafe Schmooze. It was on Beverly Boulevard near Kherson.
Oh, wow. In 96, so Rabbi Mendy Kunin was there, and that was at UCLA, and he was one of the first people who ever I got involved with.
Right. And Mendy Kunin came to me, and he said, he's younger than I, and he was a younger bacher. I failed to say, I was sent from Morristown, from the yeshiva, with a group of 9 other bacherim, shluchim, in 1981 to Los Angeles, the yeshiva, and Mendy Kunin was a younger bacher, But in '94, when I was in LA as a Mashpia, I also opened this cafe Schmooze, and Mendy came over. I remember it like now. He said, "Chaim, tell me the secret. How do you do this?" Because we had 6,000 unit people in 1 year go through our doors. We had Friday Matzah Shabbos entertainment, kosher entertainment, singers. For example, Peter Himmelman, Bob Dylan's son-in-law, sang for us. Couldn't get through the doors. We had other musicians, and Sunday night we had lectures for seniors on legal wills and health and vitamins. And during the weekend, we had a cafe there of sorts, the sandwiches, cakes, coffees, cappuccino, espressos. And we had bookshelves, and funky couches with a dark green color coal for the facility that was designed by college students, French Jewish college students. Anyway, the place was really a place to go to, and it didn't become a hangout. It was clean.
Yeah.
It was nice. It drew people from Pico Robertson, Fairfax, from people, not from people. It was written up in the Los Angeles Times. If you Google it, Rabbi Dalfin, Cafe Schmooze, you will see the article.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was a very, I would love to, I'm still thinking of, if I could pull it off either here in New York or in Florida. Florida, I don't think lends itself to it, but, because it's so hot. In LA, it just was a no-brainer. Across the street, you had all these, auditions for Hollywood.
Yeah.
It just was the right time and the right place. So that was 92 to 96. Simultaneously, I worked for McCunin to his fundraising list, the telethon. And then in 96, the Lubavitcher Yeshiva called me back to Brooklyn to become the alumni director for the Yeshiva. Okay. I did that for a while. I stopped doing that and really started my writing career. Mm-hmm. And the writing career goes along with speaking engagements. And I would say the last 10 years, we got involved, 5 years, got involved in social media and doing teaching and talking on the internet as you came across. And Baruch Hashem, I've had the ability to keep on writing. I've been writing now for 25 years or 30 years since the Rebbe's passing on Gimel Tammuz. I've been writing and have written more than 90 books, God, Baruch Hashem. And people are reading all over the world. My books are in university libraries, and there's a lot out there to do. So
you were very close with Rabbi Yoel Kahn, apparently.
Oh yes, Rabbi Yoel Kahn was not just my teacher, my Mashpia, but I was what they call a ben bias. I ate with him a lot. I mean, I had a very close relationship, not just as a student, but as a kind of a child,
Yeah. I just bought Maneh Chacham off your website because I have been I've read that book several times, and I even but on PDF, and I even did kind of a few lectures on it on my YouTube channel, but I didn't realize you were the one who published it.
Yeah, I didn't write, actually, truth be told, I didn't write it. I produced it. Someone else wrote it who asked me to publish it because given the person, didn't want to have any backlash, especially his family, he's Hasidic. So he asked me for a favor, would I do it? And I consented, and we have it. And I actually taught it online on my YouTube channel. I did a whole series of classes on the Maneh Chacham's second letter, not the first one, the second one, I believe, where he explains the whole idea of, how does outreach, Chabad outreach, how does that coincide with the Baal Tanya's teachings in Tanya? But I want to say, Yaakov, you mentioned Yud Shvat, and this is one of the purposes of this interview that the previous Rebbe, whose yahrzeit it is, and the Rebbe who started his leadership on Yud Shvat 1950, although the formal acceptance was kind of 1951, the whole vision was to bring the mayonot, the well springs of Chasidus, of Torah, which is the teachings of Pnimius Torah, to the outside, to the average person. Okay, in other words, not to water down Torah, but to show how Torah is so deep and so special that it has this aspect that really impresses and talks to an average person who might not be yet religious, or someone who is already religious, but all they're learning about is a cow goring a cow, the rules of a lulav and an esrog, and which is Titus Hashem. And I'll be the first one to tell you that when I was a student, I learned more Gemara, Talmud, and commentaries than Chasidus. That was the bulk of my learning. But nevertheless, the world we live in today needs the teachings of Chasidus. Chasidus it brings a freshness and it removes the stale aspect that a lot of people are feeling today. I just want for a moment explain this. In Yiddishkeit, in Judaism, there are times when you daven, you pray, and you don't feel anything. You do it by rote. You put on your tefillin in the morning, you put the mezuzah on, you make kiddush Shabbos. But what is the hergish, the regish, the feeling? Now, I'm not saying Hasidus is the only answer. At least not at least not in this segment of the interview. Musar gives an answer. Other forms of Kiruv give answers. The answer that Chabad gives is a combination of an intellectualism, i.e. Chochmah Bina Das, Chabad, simultaneously with a very warm emotionalism that is healthy. You see, Lubavitch, as you know, means the city of love, like Philadelphia. Luba is love in Russian. It's very much a system to evoke the love within the person, the love towards another Jew, the love towards Hashem, the warmth. There's a word that we use in Chabad, lach luchiyos. Lach luchiyos means, for the word lach, moisture. What does that mean, Yaakov? It means that your Yiddishkeit has moisture in it. It's not just dry, boring, intellectual, but there's lachluchios. And lachluchios is really, I would say, the element that makes it possible for Yiddishkeit and Torah to be exciting. And on one hand, we live in this wonderful world where people are looking. Just yesterday, I got an email from someone as it came across one of my books or videos, and he was educated in the YU Yeshiva University system. He's been gravitating towards Chabad Chasidism, and he asks me what's next, and he wants my counsel. And subsequently, he called me, and we spoke last night, and Baruch Hashem, we'll start a relationship. And but I was thinking, here is someone who's already from. His kids are going to a Beis Yaakov. Why does he need Chasidus? And how is it that in 2024, when there's so much available online and in shuls, and a man says it's not enough. YU is great, but I'm still thirsty. I'm still seeking.
Thirsty, that word, thirsty. I was, while you were talking, I kept on thinking of Tzama Lecha Nafshi.
Yeah, exactly. So Chasidism is a very important element. Now, you need to study Chasidism. It's nice to jump and play and say L'chaim and dance, and that's great things. You need to study. You need to learn. And this is a message I share with your viewers to learn Hasidus, join a class online or listen to shiurim lectures. If you live somewhere where there is classes and people, find yourself a friend. It says in Pirkei Avos, "Knei lecha chaver." Buy yourself a friend. What do you mean, buy yourself a friend? Come on. Sometimes, we do that. We go to a therapist. We pay money. We're buying ourselves a friend, not a friend, a therapist. So why not buy a friend? Make a chavrusa. If you have a few dollars and you got to pay for it, feel great about giving a few dollars to someone who helps you, teaches you Chasidus. It's a great thing. You're using money in the best way. I'm not saying that everything's for money. I'm just saying the idea is that Chasidism is alive. So Yud Shvat, the day that we're celebrating this Shabbos, in 1950, the sixth Rebbe passed on. There's so much to speak about him and his Mesiras Nefesh, self-sacrifice, as you know, Yaakov. I'm sure you were told, you learned and heard. And, my father-in-law was a Russian Jew who came from Lubavitcher, Chasidism from Russia, who went through that. And many teachers, Rabbi Yoel and others, so I grew up in this reality. Although I'm an American, and post-Holocaust, it's a different avoda, a different activity as service, but nevertheless, it was very real. And Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak, the sixth Rebbe, whose yahrzeit is, brought this element of self-sacrifice, Mesiras Nefesh, here in America. There's a famous saying that he said, or it's attributed to him. It goes like this, Yaakov. In Russia, the Mesiras Nefesh was do or die, right? In America, the Mesiras Nefesh is not for dying, but for living. No one's killing us. I mean, we do have today anti-Semitism, and, I don't want to talk about that. But I'm saying you could practice your religion today. The question is, are you willing to sacrifice your comforts for God? So it's a Mesiras Nefesh, not, do or die, for dying for God, but for living for God. We're living for God, right? We have leisure, we have freedom. How much of that are we dedicating to Hashem to help another Jew? So that's a little bit about the work. Just one more point. You mentioned, my writing up late, the last 10 years or so, I started a series that's become very popular, the relationship, looking at the compare and contrast of Chabad and other movements. So, for example, Chabad in Lubavitch, Chabad in Sakra, Chabad in Lakewood, Svardim and Chabad. I mean, on my website, which is Rabbi Dalfin, DALFIN.com, you get to see all of those works. So that's something that I'm working on, coming out soon as Chabad, Young Israel, and Modern Orthodoxy, followed by, God willing, Chabad and Yeshiva University, YU. So this is something that's really caught on. So it goes along with what you mentioned, Rabbi Shlomo Carlbach and Zalman Schachter, and also some personalities that have stood out, and people have what to say about it, and are interested in knowing about it, whether they agree or disagree, regardless. So that's been what I'm doing, and continue to do. That's it.
I know you have to go, Rabbi, but most of the people who watch, while we do have Jews who watch my channel, most of the people who watch my channel are not Jewish.
Okay.
Many of them consider themselves Noachites. They're aware of the Sheva Mitzvot B'nai Noach. A lot of them have a lot of questions. I was wondering if you had some teaching, you could offer for the people who aren't Jewish, who are interested about knowing about what Hasidus has to offer to them and what it tells them to do in how to live their lives.
I can. You hear me, right?
Yes. You're
still
froze, but we still hear you.
Yeah, I don't see that I see you, but okay. Oh, here you are.
There.
The first thing is a Gentile, a non-Jew, should not feel compelled at all to convert to Judaism. Actually, stay being not Jewish, but do those 7 commandments, as you said, Yaakov. In other words, there's no need to become Jewish. There is a need to follow the 7 commandments and live a life that way. Okay? If there are those that do want to convert and really believe it, and are really going to commit it to it, and I say really because I've had my experiences where 3 strikes and you're out, and I'm very, concerned about converts and potential converts. You really, it's not easy, and
it's not easy being a yid. I mean, honestly, like
right,
yeah.
exactly. So why should someone who's not Jewish and leading, a fine life need, join? I mean, a Gentile is just as holy. The Rambam writes this: if he or she keeps the 7 universal laws, that's what should be the emphasis. Okay. Now, in intermarriage, where there's a spouse who's not Jewish, a spouse is Jewish, there's more room for conversion. But even that has to be genuine, not because I'm in love or or I want to get you, I want to have you, and you're Jewish, and I need to. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I would say to Gentiles, there's so much you can benefit from of Judaism by being a religious non-Jewish Noahide. And I would put the emphasis on that. The teachings of Chasidus, there are sections of Chasidus that apply to all of humanity, including non-Jews. The second section of Tanya, for example, Shari Yichud Ve'emunah, the gates of unity and faith, is something that they could study and relate to. But again, if someone is, in their gut of guts, they feel Jewish or they want to be Jewish, there's a system. But I can tell you one thing, if it was up to me, I wouldn't just let it be easy, because I've seen too much. Too many people come in and go out. There's a system. When you want to join a club, you got to pay membership. And you got to be serious. Otherwise, get out of this club. You don't belong to the club. Not that this club is better. I'm not going better or worse. But there are ground rules in this club. So if you want to join this club, you better be serious. And I'll be the first one to tell you that. Okay? And I'm going to challenge you. And I'm going to make it difficult for you. Because I need to know that you are not in it for the short term, but you're in it for the long run. And when things get hot and heavy in the kitchen, you ain't running out.
Right.
So I'm sounding, strong and severe, but it's a very serious issue. So I hope all the non-Jews that watch your program will understand that I'm coming out of love, not out of, hate or anything else. It's because I love mankind that I desire to have a healthy mankind, a wholesome mankind.
Yeah. Actually, I'll say most of the people who are Noachides, oftentimes their complaint is, what do you mean these 7 mitzvot are so easy that you're not demanding much from me? And oftentimes, I've had other rabbis on here, and actually Chezi, who lives in Jerusalem, he has on my channel a halacha shir for Gentiles. It's like Gentile halacha, Sheva Mitzvot B'nai Noach. And one of the big things, you have to say is, yes, don't steal. It sounds simple, but when you mean it, when you actually care about the halachas and the details of it, and what it means to steal, and what it means to work honestly in business, right? Like, that is the hardest part of Shulchan Aruch, right? The final tests for a dayan is laws of business.
Right.
Yeah.
And Yaakov, you mentioned the 7 mitzvahs. Take, for example, the one of the 7 commandments is don't be cruel to animals, right? Now, if you're not allowed to be cruel to animals, you're not allowed to be cruel to humans. It's right. So the whole idea of tzedakah falls under the category of don't be cruel to animals. The point I'm making is there are thousands of nuances that are derivatives of the 7 universal laws. So for us Jews, there's a clear commandment in the Torah, don't close your hand to the pauper. Okay. For the non-Jew, it's a derivative of the mitzvah. Don't be cruel to animals.
Right.
So so I'm very glad to hear someone's teaching halacha for non-Jews. That's a very good idea. And
yeah, I don't know if you have this book by Rabbi Wiener, Sheva Mitzvah Hashem, but he tried to write a Shulchan Aruch for Gentiles. And it's an excellent book. There is a translation in English, and there's a different Rabbi Shirky. So that's actually a lot of what my channel is involved.
Okay. Well, look, I invite all Gentiles that visit your channel to email me, info@rabbidalfin.com. If they wish to, to ask a question, make a comment, whatever, and we'll go from there and encourage them to read some of the works. I wrote a book years ago called "To Be Hasidic," that famous book by Donnan, "To Be a Jew,"
right?
Which was read by almost every convert, the potential convert. What does it mean? So. Whatever. Maybe there's a non-Jew that wants to one day be a Hasid.
Yeah, Hasidic Gentiles.
Hasidic Gentiles, right. Yaakov, I'm going to go. It's nice speaking with you. Take care. And only have tzlacha, success, and thank you for your time and opportunity, okay?
Thank you for your time, Rabbi. Bye-bye. Yeah, I mean, first of all, Rabbi Dalfin has been very gracious with his time and email. Yeah, I mean, Alter Chassidim, they're important people, and the fact that Rabbi Dalfin is willing to speak about difficult issues clearly, I mean, that's what I liked the most about his channel. So Lynn says, does the Noachide tradition require a tithe and to whom to pay? The 7 laws don't mention this. A giving charity is, so tithing money is not such a clear thing in Judaism at all. Giving charity is, and how much charity you give depends on your situation. One of the general rules often given is you should not give too much, which would be like 20%, is sometimes said to be like the limit. Obviously, that depends on your living situation, and if you have if God has been very kind to you, obviously there are reasons why you may give even more than 20%. But when it comes down to it, giving tzedakah, giving charity, is something that a person should become accustomed to do. And like Rabbi Dalfin was talking about, when you talk about the details of the 7 laws, right? So it doesn't appear to be in there that you have to respect your parents. Like, that's not one of the 7 laws. It's one of the 10 commandments. It's not one of the 7 laws. And the 10 commandments apply to Jews, not to Gentiles. But Gentiles also required to respect their parents. And that comes, I mean, why they're required and how exactly they're required. Those are the types of things that Chazi talks about in his class. But yeah, it's nice. Dan Smith says, it appears that the commandment forbids eating limb of a live animal, does not apply to seafood and the methods of cooking. So famously, one time someone asked the Rebbe, he said, like, this is not, like, Ever Minachai is not something that is applicable, really. And the Rebbe said that, cooking live lobster, he believed was a manifestation of that, right? The Rebbe specifically spoke about that. He said this was not a good thing for people to do. Technically, is that actually, like, because what exactly does it mean to kill a lobster? But when it comes down to it, I think what the Rebbe was talking about, and I think which is true, is, look, don't be cruel, right? Don't be cruel. And it's cute to say whether or not, like, oh, this specific thing, right? Ever Minachai, what the exact rules are. I mean, it's necessary, and that's what Talmudic learning, in order to better understand the exact meaning of the words and why it's there, and to detail, right? But when it comes down to it, the mitzvah is don't be cruel. Don't be cruel. And really, is it, if you're going to cook a lobster, is it too much to use your knife to cut off its, to cut the spinal cord before you put it into the boiling water? I mean, come on, right? Isn't that a kindness you wish? Like, the details are very important, and you have to make sure that you're keeping the details, and that's definitely true. At the same time, that doesn't mean that it's either or. It's not the spirit or the law. It's the spirit and the law. And if you're not keeping the law, and it's a divine law, then you're also not keeping the spirit. Because how can you say that you're keeping the spirit if you're not keeping the details, right? But just because something is a detail, right, doesn't mean that, like, okay, so does it apply to seafood and methods of cooking? Like, okay, yes or no? Don't be cruel. Can I say it more clearly than that? Don't be cruel. Okay, not going to keep this going too much longer. Rabbi, I am going to end this broadcast, especially because I know Chazi has his shiur coming up soon. Bye-bye.